Hey friends, it is now Sunday evening. It is a little after 6 on Sunday. I did not film at the event outside of just the booth setup. It was set up very differently than years past. The first year I did it, we were in a parking area of a street, and then the music was down the street, and there were crafts, and Santa was down the street. I was a little further back from things. I was actually the end vendor, which was not a bad thing. That's where people tend to walk in from where they were parked. And so it was a good year that first year. Last year we were down Main Street, about a block from where I was the first year, and there was lots and lots of vendors. Music in the stage was quite a ways away. The tree lighting was quite a ways away, and it was very, very busy last year. This year, I believe I mentioned in videos past that I was having a really hard time getting anybody from the Chamber of Commerce to reply to me. Usually I start correspondence in the summer, and I am registered and paid August, early September. I could not get anyone to answer me for months. And I emailed 2 different email addresses at the Chamber of Commerce. I posted comments repeatedly on their posts of other events, and nobody replied. I was starting to wonder if this event was even happening. And finally, they put out an application in late September, early October. And I sent in the application, and I did not hear anything back. So I'm again commenting, going, when are we going to hear back on these applications that we've submitted? I would like to know, because otherwise I will move to a different event. And finally, somebody from the Chamber of Commerce messaged my personal profile and said, when did you submit your application? Please forward it to me. And so I did, and then we corresponded a bit. Whomever had taken over as the chair for this event really dropped the ball. And so Lisa, I guess, is the president of the Chamber of Commerce. She was announced as such yesterday, and she then chaired the event. It was significantly smaller than it has been years past. And our setup was very, very different. As opposed to having streets closed and all this extra stuff, it was really just the Chamber of Commerce building and the extension of those parking lots. The vendors were set up in so this is an old train depot. And so essentially the vendors were set up on the train station platform. It's small covered area. They originally had intended for both sides of this covered platform to have vendors on it. Well, by the time you put a 10 by 10 space, they were well over center. There was no way there was going to be 2 10 by 10s. So some single table vendors did set up on the other side, some politicals and just some small single table craft things. We got there right when we were supposed to start setting up, and pretty much that whole covered area was kind of taken. And so we did set up our tents, and we set them up outside of the covered area. And as I had said, I had reserved 2 spaces for this. So we set up. I was originally told that I'd asked about setting up with our back to the building. And they said no, because people are going to be walking through there. We can't obstruct their pathway. Well, then 2 political parties ended up setting up there. And the one was not a 10 by 10. It was like a 12 by 12. He had 1 table and a chair. It really made no sense. And so then his corner ended up being 3 to 4 feet from ours, which was kind of a nuisance. We could have easily spanned that whole width of the building, but it is what it is. So the stage was then directly across from where we were set up. So there were local musicians, there was some dance studios performing, there was a grade school with the little kids that came and sang. So there was loud, very loud music the whole time. There was no way that I could film, I couldn't talk, there was just no option for that. So it was quite worrisome as we set up and got started. And then at the kickoff, the crowd was so sparse, so sparse. I was really concerned about how the evening was going to go. We had the whole week we've been building up with this chance of rain, and we still went in with a chance of rain. One weather app is calling for thunderstorms at the onset of this, and then there's chance of rain during when we be breaking down. It really turned into a wonderful evening as far as weather. If anything, we cooked. It ended up being significantly warmer, close to 80, which is kind of hard when I'm selling hats as well as my other things. And nobody bought a hat or a headband. So it was quite warm till the sun went down. Setting up was rough. I did way more stairs because we're then on this elevated platform. So we're carrying our, 40-pound groups of weights up all these stairs. And so it was significantly more labor intensive than some other events have been. I am currently wearing compression socks. I'm not sure what I did to my foot, but my right foot is swollen. I got ate alive yesterday. I've got a bite on each foot, and then I've got a massive mosquito bite on my calf. So I definitely have some wear and tear from the event. But overall, it turned out to be decent. Did the double booth pay off? Not really sure that the double booth paid off. This was not an event where I had to pay double the single rate. So it was kind of like 1.5 times, I think is what it was. So I'm not sure that it's worth paying double for some of these $60 events. I just don't know that there's the return on that. It was super nice to have the extra space and be much more spread out. I even had a motorized wheelchair come through, and it was really a good setup as far as utilization of space and being able to have, more people in my booth. As far as this year versus last year, there were like 3 more items sold than last year, and then just like $20 difference. So unfortunately, having the double space did not result in double income. I had a number of upsells with my adoption kits. For $4, you can add that on to any crochet item, and you then get a bed, a carrying box, and a adoption certificate. So we had quite 5 of those were upsells. So $20 in upsells there. The keychains did really well. The stingray keychains, some chicken keychains. After the craziness of my chicken nuggets selling at the other show, I didn't sell a single chicken nugget. So, and I sat there for the beginning while it was super slow and crocheted chicken nuggets. So I have like 14 chicken nugget keychains now. So that was how the show started, was me sitting and crocheting chicken nuggets. As far as overall, we did a little over $600. Certainly wasn't what I was hoping for as far as, the grand scheme of things. This is one of my bigger shows, but I was hoping with the extra space, the extra inventory, that it would be a much bigger event. My large turtle did sell, so I need to make some more of those. I'm now out of my jumbo turtles. some looks at my dragons, but they did not find a home last night. And my multicolor turtles are almost sold out again. So I need to make a whole bunch more of my multicolored turtles, which is just a modified pattern from Happy Turtle Crochet. And then I sold 3 loaf cats. And then a bunch of various items. My skeleton turtle did sell. That was one of the adoption kids. So my teenager sold 14 items, and so she was then paid $55. My younger one had 8 items, plus she contributes to the adoption kits. She puts together my certificates and typically makes the beds. I ended up making the beds in a somewhat frustrated frenzy yesterday before the event, and had I not done that, we would not have been able to do the upsells because we had like 3 beds. So she then got paid $28. And then I've started making a list of the things that we need to do. We have another show this weekend. We have a show the following Thursday, the 4th, for the Small Business Expo at our community college. I did that last year and that was really good for me. And then we've got one more show on the 13th. So I just updated my upcoming events and I posted that to Facebook and Instagram. And so hopefully I can get a little bit more sold, a little bit more income as we head into this season. Both my kids have birthdays in that week of Christmas and New Year's. So it is a very, very busy time for us. It was not planned. They were both early. They were both supposed to be January babies. Did not work out. Well, the one is technically a January baby, but like late January baby. So they were not supposed to be holiday babies. But so I've made a list of things for each kid to do, and I certainly have my work cut out for me between multicolored turtles, jumbo turtles, loaf cats. I'm out of black loaf cats again. So it's a good thing, but it's definitely keeping me busy, keeping up with all of this. So I don't have a whole lot more to share right now. I'm debating on what kind of feedback to give the coordinator for yesterday's show. It would have really been nice to know what the event was looking like. There were probably more food trucks than there were craft vendors. There were no craft things for the kids. Previously, there's been like craft booths where you can paint an ornament or do whatever. And there were no craft booths for the kids. So there was fewer activities to keep the kids engaged or the families engaged, fewer things to come and do. And you could roast s'mores with the fire department and see Santa. I think that was it. Other than seeing us and getting food. You could watch the dancers or whomever performing, but there just hasn't been the variety of activities that there has been in years past. Whether that contributed, whether the lack of marketing contributed. This is an annual event, so you kind of anticipate it coming, but it certainly wasn't marketed the same. And, certainly the economy. Between the government shutdown last month, the anticipated hikes in healthcare, job situations, there's a lot of uncertainty. So I don't know what the biggest contributing factor was, but there's certainly a lot going on there. So I'm debating on what kind of feedback. It would have been nice to know that we weren't in the street, in the parking lot, that we were up on this platform and just the way things were going to be laid out. I really do appreciate it when coordinators provide a map up front. The map really gives me an opportunity to kind of figure out, what's going on. And I just like some of that preparation mindset. And, I was preparing for a lot of different weather things. I brought additional crates in order to keep everything up off the ground. In the event it did rain, nothing would go there. We were on a wood deck that had massive holes in it. There was not going to be any water running anywhere. It would just go right through the floor. And, some of just stuff would be good to know so I can prepare better, prepare differently for different areas that these events are in. So I'm not sure. Some event coordinators do put out an email, they ask for feedback, and I frequently fill those out. And sometimes I just message back going, I'd like to provide a little bit of feedback from the vendor perspective, from my vendor perspective, about, what went well or what could have been done differently. And certainly they're well aware that this was a very different event than usual. But some of that forewarning, heads up on, you're going to be hiking up 10 stairs onto a platform to set this up. It just would have been a little nice to get the heads up to know what to expect. And maybe we would have arrived a little bit earlier. Obviously, all the other vendors did. Outside of the political guy next to us, like everybody was already setting up. And we were there right when we were told was the beginning of setup. So it is what it is. I am glad that, it's nice to see the returning customers. The little girl that purchased from me a couple weeks ago was back again and bought another cat. And I am just so appreciative of the return customers. And one came in, she's like, I'm so glad you were here. I had hyped up this event for the kids and I was really concerned when we pulled up. So, it feels good to do that. I had probably some college kids in squealing over my daughter's Stingray keychains. They were so excited. And so they all got matching Stingray, well, not like different colors, but they all got the same Stingray keychains. And so that is so much fun. And that is why I do this. I mean, it's certainly a stress reliever to just kind of zone out and crochet, but my love language is gifting, gifts. And so I really enjoy seeing people find their fun there. So I need to cook dinner. It is dinner time. My husband's talking to his parents on the phone, probably wondering our Christmas plans. And I don't know yet. I'm a planner and nobody is responding to me so I can make those plans. I am trying to get our week lined up between what I'm spending with my family, what I'm spending with his family, and then the friends that we try and see in between, and trying to figure out everybody's availability. It's just a hot mess. So hopefully I will hear something soon and we can get this ball rolling. But I am now rambling. I am hungry. I'm starting to get hangry, and it is time to say goodbye for now. I will check in with you later this week as we prepare for the next event. Take care.